how you approach a training has to be adjusted a little bit. And whether that's in person or virtual, there's some different dynamics there that I'm seeing. So for example, with virtual training, if you can tie the concepts that you're talking about to life in general. So we might be teaching some skills about how to better communicate about your products or services, let's say. You get more engagement from the audience if you talk about some ways in which that helps them in their life, whether it's like them communicating in other jobs or with their personal relationships. People tend to perk up a little bit more when they see that these are skills that can be applied to more than just work.
So very excited to have my friend Ross here. Ross, thank you so much for joining us today. Very excited to dive into this conversation of how we continue to build better leaders. You've been thinking about this for a long time because you yourself have been on both lens as a trainer, but also leading teams and have sold company and just gone through all those different gamuts. You've been in sales both on many gamuts. Tell us a little bit more. What was your first impression about when somebody said sales or working in sales versus now what you think about sales?
It's such a good question because I think when you hear that word sales, like you said, there's so many different feelings that come within us based on our own experiences with someone in sales or with sales. And I would say probably one of the interesting things is, Monica, of all the people, I think I'm the last person who would have thought I would have gone into sales. It was not something that I had even intentionally planned on doing. And my first job was actually even traditionally was a door-to-door salesperson. I was selling security systems door to door, knocking all day long. It was extremely hard work. It gave me this idea, though, this sense of how do you think fast on your feet? How do you communicate with other people? But over the years, and even in that job, my idea of sales even changed. I have found that I do best when I'm as most natural to myself. And I have this genuine interest in helping people figure out their problems and solving those problems. And I find that sales is a really great way to do that. You have this opportunity to speak and communicate and find out what's going on with someone and then see if there is a good fit there for what you're offering and being able to solve a problem for them that could be really meaningful. And so when you look at it from that lens, that has driven how I feel about sales, but also even now into my career that I do now. So it's started there, but it's this idea of helping other people to solve their problems.
Real talk though, let's admit it. How do you know how to make sense of quality work, where to stop, where to continue? I've had the pleasure of working with Ross, and very appreciative of how much care and thoughtfulness he and the team has go in what they do. But I do wonder sometimes, are we nitpicking too much or are we actually not fighting enough on the details? Did we miss something? And so I'm curious, Russ, for you, like, how do you know? How do you know when to go, no, we gotta hash out more versus no, I think we dug the hole deep enough. Let's stop it. We gotta just like actually enjoy it.
No, absolutely. It's a lot of work. Anytime you're trying to pass on knowledge to someone or help an organization generate the results they want through their team of people, that is a lot of work. But I think you have tapped into something that's really interesting. It's this idea of simplicity. I think all too often we will get into a program or someone will give us materials and they say, hey, we want to cover all of this in an hour and a half. And you're like, wow, you could maybe cover all of that in a week if you had it. But
Oh
in an
man.
hour and a half, there's absolutely no way. If you want people to actually consume the content, you as the learning and development team or the people who's trying to pass that knowledge on, you have to be okay taking a step back and simplifying it to saying, okay,
Mm.
if I could get my team to do this
Uh-huh.
one thing or these two
Uh-huh.
things better, we're going to see better results. It's far
Mm.
better to spend an hour on one skill or two skills than cover five skills in 1 hour. You will get far more out of your team and the results will be better. And so I think you're right. It's this idea of stepping back and saying, okay, are we trying to cover too much? Do I need to simplify this down a little bit? And then let's just get our team working on that first. The other area too that I
Yeah.
find that is we put so much emphasis on this idea of creating the content, but
Uh-huh.
really people learn in doing. We all
Yeah.
know that. If you think about even as simple as learning like a new board game, you start learning the instructions and you're like, okay, let's just start playing. I'll figure it out as we go. It's the same idea with adult learning and training. This idea that you say, hey, let's just get you started. I know a program is going to go well if it's simple enough that someone can actually go out and start doing it. And then if I can follow up with that person and maybe do a second round or say,
Yeah.
okay, let's talk about what we learned. What were some of the challenges? What things that were difficult? Let's now make some tweaks. Let's add to that. People are going to retain it better. They're going to actually do it more. And that simplification actually creates better results.